My name's Nicole. I'm 32. I live in Boston and run a biotech startup we launched with a few college friends. Things are going well, we just closed an investment round. My weekends smell less like coffee these days and more like board meetings. It's all getting real. But if you asked my family what I do, they'd probably say something like, she works with computers or whatever. Then there's Claire, my older sister. She's always been the one. The kind of person who's born with perfect posture and that look in her eyes that makes strangers say, oh, she's going to marry a doctor one day. Her hair? Always flawless. Our parents worship the ground she walks on. And Claire? She walks into any room like she owns the place. Me? I'm different. Straightforward. Simple. I wear whatever's clean and comfy. I don't know how to be a guest at family holidays. I'm either cooking or doing dishes, so I don't have to hear everyone compare me to Claire. So, a week before Mom's birthday, I call my dad, just to ask what I should bring. Nothing major. I figured I'd come early, help out, grab some wine on the way, like I always do. He listens. There's a pause. And then he says something I'll never forget. Nicole, if it's possible, maybe don't come this year. At first, I thought he was joking, or maybe worried that I was too busy with work. But then he adds, Claire's bringing her new boyfriend. He's a CFO. Has a serious reputation. You know, we just want to avoid any awkward comparisons. I swear, it felt like the floor tilted under me. I stood there, staring out the window, watching the rain trace lines down the glass, trying to figure it out. Were they embarrassed by me? Or had they just written me off? I told him I understood. Hung up. And then I stood there, shaking, for a long, long time. That night after the call, it felt empty. Not angry. Not tearful. Just blank, like someone had switched the world off. I sat in the silence, like everything was on pause. At some point, I walked over to my laptop. Not because I had to, my hands just knew where to go. I opened my banking app, typed in my parents' last name in the search bar. Payments, month after month, for 2 years straight. Electricity, water, internet, even the car insurance. All of it came out of my account. They never asked if it was okay. Never once said thank you. I was just convenient. Invisible, but reliable. Total amount? Almost $16,000. $16,000. And now I'm not a good fit for the party because I might make things awkward. With every click, I started turning things off. Auto payments. Gone. Click. No more internet. Click. Goodbye cable. I wasn't angry. I just sat up straight and shut off everything that tied me to a house where I no longer belonged. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt like an adult. Not wanted. Not needed. But grown. Completely grown. A couple days passed. I slipped back into my routine. Coffee, a short walk, then off to the office. Everything looked the same. But something inside had quietly shifted. It felt like I'd stopped being someone you could just shut off with a single phone call. I was scrolling through our company's internal emails, transfer requests between departments, the usual, when my eyes landed on a name. Liam Prescott. I blinked. Once. Then leaned in and read it again. Chief Financial Officer. Transferring from our New Jersey office to Boston. Approved for consideration. Status, pending final review. Nicole Warren. Meaning me. I laughed. Not loud. Just that soft, breathy kind of laugh you let out when life tosses you something too weird to be real. Liam. That was the name my mom mentioned a few days ago. Claire's new boyfriend. The very same one I wasn't recommended to meet. Just in case things got awkward. Funny, isn't it? They have no idea he's about to work under me. No idea who I actually am. And honestly, I never explained. Because the truth is, no one ever asked. So I sit there staring at the screen. And inside, I feel this quiet calm. I'm not thinking about revenge. I'm not thinking about proving anything. I'm just thinking, let it all unfold. Let the truth reveal itself. I was at my desk going over reports. Just another morning, except for that faint charge in the air, like the moment before a storm. And then the door opened. He stepped in. Liam. The same one from photos, from family stories, from that little play my family put on, the one where I didn't even get a supporting role. Now he was here. Real. A little tense, holding a folder, with a polite, unsure half-smile. His eyes met mine, and he froze. "Nicole," he said, barely above a whisper. I nodded. "Come. No drama." "Welcome to Pacific Genomics," I said. "Starting today, we'll be working together. I'll be overseeing your department." He straightened up, trying to compose himself. But in his eyes, that flicker of uneasy realization, the kind I've seen before, when someone suddenly understands their assumptions, were hollow. He handed me the folder, as if the paper might somehow cover the silence. I didn't pretend nothing had happened. I just didn't add anything more to what was already there. My title spoke for me. My office spoke for me. And my silence, it said the rest. Liam left the room without another word. And I stayed seated, just as I was. I wasn't happy. I wasn't angry. I just felt, for the first time in a long while, that everything had finally fallen into place. The morning of my mom's birthday started just as expected. Thick fog, a heavy gray sky, and a strong cup of coffee in my hands. I was curled up on the windowsill, wrapped in a blanket like I knew deep down. This wasn't just a day, it was the calm before a storm. At 9 a.m., the first message came in. "Nicole, sweetheart, I think the power's out. Can you check on it?" Mom. The same woman who, just last week, looked at me like I was some genetic clerical error. I set the phone back on the table. No reply. Then a second message popped up from Dad. "No internet. Guests are arriving soon. Call the provider." Oh, that tone. So familiar. The commanding one. As if I were tech support, not a daughter. As if we hadn't had that conversation a month ago, the one where he basically erased me from the family. I didn't respond. A little later, another buzz. "Claire, this time. Could you maybe let go of your grudge for one day? Everything's falling apart here." Mom's on the verge of a breakdown. I wasn't angry anymore. I felt something else, a quiet, strange kind of joy. Everything they took for granted had suddenly vanished. And with that absence, they remembered me. How convenient. But the real moment? It came a bit later. An incoming video call from Aunt Sharon lit up my screen. I hesitated, then answered. She appeared, her cozy kitchen in the background, flashlight in hand, her breath quick and anxious. "Nicole, could you just explain what's going on? Everyone's freaking out. Your mom's crying. The power's out. No one can reach the provider." I said nothing, just looked into the camera. And then someone else stepped into frame. Liam. He leaned in behind her and froze mid-sentence. "Nicole? You're Nicole Warren." I nodded. He turned to Claire, still stunned, and said, "She's my boss." Silence fell on the room. The camera trembled. Someone dropped a fork, and somewhere off-screen, my mother's voice crackled. "Who?" "She's what?" And I smiled. "Hope the family gathering's going well." Then hung up. After that call, I didn't feel victorious. No smug satisfaction. Just lightness. Like I'd finally set down a bag I didn't realize I'd been dragging my whole life. I put my phone on silent, curled up in my chair, and just breathed. Not even an hour passed before the next wave hit. A message from Claire. Long, frantic. Full of all caps and question marks. "You knew. You knew all along and let this happen. Mom's crying. Liam's in shock. The whole day is ruined. Are you happy now?" I read it. Didn't answer right away. I made myself a cup of ginger tea, like it was just another Monday morning. And then, with no heat, no drama, I typed. I didn't call. I didn't introduce myself. I didn't put on a show. I was just at home. The rest is the result of your reality, not mine. Send. A few hours later, another message. This time from Mom. I never thought you'd choose this way to get revenge on your family. Still no anger. No guilt. Just a strange kind of peace. Because I hadn't done anything. I'd simply stopped being convenient. Some stories don't need a grand finale. Just a quiet decision to let go and finally breathe. Have you ever reached that moment? When you stopped explaining yourself and everything became clear? Tell me in the comments. And if this story touched something in you, like, subscribe, and stay close. More stories from voices you don't usually hear are on the way. The next morning, I got to the office a little earlier than usual. Sorted through emails. Opened reports. Made myself some coffee. Just a regular day, or so it seemed. But in my inbox, a new message was already waiting. From him. Liam. Short. Professional. Good morning, Nicole. I realized yesterday was unexpected, but after everything, I can't continue my relationship with Claire. Thank you for handling it all with calm and grace. See you at the team meeting. I read it 10 times, maybe more. Not because of some rush of emotion, but because of the stillness inside me. I didn't feel triumph or vindication, just justice. For the first time in a long while, someone truly saw me. Not as that Nicole, the one they whisper about at holidays, but as a person, with a name, a voice, and a story of her own. A few hours later, another message came in. From Claire. You have to talk to him. He misunderstood everything. You're his boss. You have influence. Just tell him it was a mistake. Please. I didn't reply right away. I sat there, watching the world go by through the window. People on their way to work. Couriers rushing with coffee. Spring trying to push through the gray morning air. Then I typed. He didn't leave because of me. He left because of what he saw. And hit send. No more. No less. Sometimes, the most powerful stories are the quiet ones. Ones where no one yells. No one wins. But someone finally gets seen. Clearly, and without apology. If you've ever felt invisible, or finally stepped out of that shadow, share your moment below. I'd love to hear it. And if this story meant something to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us. More true voices are just around the corner. A week passed. I barely thought about Claire, my parents, or that whole circus they called a family disgrace. There was work. There were things to do. And there was me, in my life, in my place. Until Sunday, when the doorbell rang. They were standing there. My mom, face tired, holding a small paper bag. My dad, coat unbuttoned, eyes sharp, but stripped of that old superiority. Can we talk? Mom asked. I stepped aside. No greetings. No hugs. Just silence. And the sound of their footsteps entering a space they'd never stepped into before. My home. We sat. I poured them water. And then they started. We were thinking, my mom began. Now that things are stable for you, maybe you could help out. Just a little. $2,000 a month. For utilities, meds, maybe save a bit for retirement. We're family after all. I wasn't even surprised. What about Claire? I asked. She's going through a lot. My dad cut in. She's still upset about the breakup, and work's not going well. We can't burden her. But you're strong. You can handle it. I nodded. Calmly. All right, I said. I'm willing. But only under a contract. 50-50. 1,000 from me, 1,000 from Claire. And we sign a document. If you pass away, the house comes to me. No surprises. They froze. My dad stood up suddenly, slamming the table. The glasses rattled. Are you serious? You're setting terms for your own parents? Did you forget who raised you? No, I said. I just finally realized that wasn't an investment. That was childhood. And this is adult life. And in this life, I'm no longer the person you only call when something's on fire. They left, slamming the door behind them. And in the quiet that followed, I didn't feel empty. I didn't feel hurt. I just felt clean. That day, the office was buzzing. New project launch. Morning calls. Reports flying in. I'd almost forgotten there was a world beyond the glass walls. And then the door opened. He walked in. Liam. Composed. A folder under his arm. A trace of awkwardness in his steps. He took one stride, met my eyes, and froze. "Good morning," I said, not looking up from my screen. "Quarterly budget review, right?" He nodded. But the words, they seemed to get stuck somewhere in his throat. Finally, he exhaled. You're actually one of the co-founders?" I looked up. 6 years now, I said. He placed the documents on my desk, carefully, in silence. Then, almost in a whisper, I didn't know. And I'm ashamed. Not of you. Of myself. For not seeing who you were before. I didn't reply. Because I didn't have to. He'd already understood. And you know what surprised me the most? He worked. With focus. Precision. No pretense. He didn't try to charm his way back in. Didn't ask about Claire. He just did his job, with respect. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt the presence of someone real. Not a mask. Not a role. But a person who wasn't measuring me. He was seeing me. A couple of days later, after another morning meeting, I checked my inbox. There it was, a message from Claire. Long, chaotic. Like a scream typed blindly in the dark. "You knew. You planned this. Mom's crying. Dad's furious. Liam's confused. And you just sit there in silence. Why are you so cruel?" I read it twice. Not looking for an answer. Just trying to soften the ache in my chest. For so many years, all I'd wanted from her was just a sliver of understanding. Now she was blaming me for being myself. For staying quiet. For not interfering. But also for not saving them. I set my tea down. Took a deep breath. And typed just a few lines. "You say I ruined everything. But I never left my home. I didn't start the video call. I didn't introduce myself as a boss. I was just me. And if that was enough to break the illusion, maybe it wasn't worth so much to begin with." I hit send. Not out of anger, but because I was tired of living in the role of a shadow. Liam's message came unexpectedly. No blame. No drama. Just words, clear, honest. Like something he'd been holding on to for a while and finally couldn't keep in. "Nicole, I want to apologize. Not for you, for me. For not seeing sooner how you were treated. After your mom's birthday. I couldn't look at Claire the same way. I realized respect isn't a performance. I chose to walk away. Not because of you. But because of you, I understood I could." I read it in complete silence. No tears. No triumph. Just that stillness. The kind that doesn't come after winning, but after understanding. A few hours later, in the quiet of the evening, I replied, "Thank you, Liam. For your honesty. For seeing. For choosing respect. I hold no grudge. And yes, don't worry. Personal life doesn't cross into work. See you at the office." He didn't write back. And that felt right. Because sometimes, silence is the perfect ending. The next morning, the office was quiet, like even the air had learned to respect boundaries. Liam walked into the team meeting, sat down with his papers, and didn't look at me once. And that felt right. Precise. Professional. I appreciated it more than any apology. But then, during lunch, a message came in. From Claire. Casual, but with that undercurrent of panic just beneath the surface. "Can you talk to him? He listens to you. Tell him I'm not like that. It was just stress." I didn't answer right away. I needed 20 minutes and a strong cup of Americano to not slide back into the old version of me, the one who rescued people right after they tore her down. Then I wrote. "He didn't walk away because of what I said. He walked away because of what you did. And it's not my job to explain the difference." No reply. And that, too, was exactly as it should be. I didn't owe anyone anything anymore. I'd finally chosen myself. Without guilt. Without fear. A week passed. I was just finishing up some edits on a report when the intercom rang. Wasn't expecting anyone. But something in me already knew. This wasn't a coffee delivery. The screen lit up. Mom and Dad standing at the gate. Mom holding a small bag. Dad's face stone still, but his eyes downcast. Not angry. Just lost. I buzzed them in. We sat in the living room. Silent. Like we were mourning something. Maybe we were. We've been thinking. Dad started like he was learning to speak again. We were wrong. And your mother would like to. He faltered. Mom picked it up gently. We'd like to talk. As a family. Maybe find a way back. I listened. I didn't say anything. There was no anger in me. Just a quiet clarity. Any path back has to be built from both sides. And if that path ever does appear, I won't be the one dragging everyone forward anymore. The irony? They came with open hands. Only after I'd stopped reaching out. I looked at them. My parents, standing at my door with tired eyes and voices laced with something between irritation and fear. In Mom's hand, a small paper bag. As if this visit could somehow be framed as casual. Peaceful. They sat on the edge of the couch like guests, unsure if there was still a place for them here. The conversation, as always, started with detours. Things are tough. The pension doesn't stretch far. Utility bills are through the roof. It all felt like the soft drum roll before the real ask. And then they pulled out a piece of paper. Numbers. 2,000 a month. Like my whole life had been leading up to this. My turn to give back. I listened in silence. And suddenly, I realized how many years I'd accepted these moments as normal. As if I wasn't allowed to ask for anything in return. Not even basic respect. Not even a simple thank you. I asked, "What about Claire?" Mom looked down. She's going through a rough time. The breakup hit her hard. And that's when I did something they never expected. I laid down my terms. Calm. Clear. If Claire agrees to her share, 1,000 per month. If there's a notarized agreement that the property will be passed down to me, then yes, I'll help. The silence that followed was deafening. Dad stood up, red with frustration. Oh, so money matters more than family now? But I didn't flinch. I didn't tremble. Because this wasn't about money. It was about boundaries. Because love without respect? That's not love. That's dependency, wrapped in tradition. I didn't yell. I didn't explain myself. I simply stood up, walked them to the door, and said, "Think it over. I'm not asking for agreement. I'm asking for honesty." And for the first time after they left, I didn't feel like crying. I poured myself a glass of red, opened the window, and listened to the city. A city that never asked me to be convenient. They left. No yes. No no. And they didn't call back. Not the next day. Not the next week. I thought it would hurt. I thought I'd be drowning in guilt, maybe even break and call them myself. But instead, it felt like the air had cleared. Like the space around me finally belonged to me. Like life was finally mine. While the silence from my family lingered, life went on. The office was calm, steady. Liam remained professional. Not a single mention of Claire, not a trace of awkwardness. He became part of the team. And honestly, he even started earning real respect. As for me, I stopped checking my messages, hoping someone remembered. Stopped watching the calendar, wondering if anyone would call on holidays. Then one evening, I came home late. There was a message on the voicemail. Claire's voice. "Hey, it's me. If you can, please, just tell Liam I'm not angry. That I miss him." I didn't call her back. Not out of bitterness. But because I knew neither of us was here to fix her image. Respect doesn't come back through borrowed voices. More time passed. I wrote a will. Simple. Everything I've built. Not to my family, not to a fund, not to charity. To my team. To the people who built this with me. The ones who saw me, not my name, not my role. One day I shared this story with a colleague, and she said, "You know, you didn't get revenge. You just stopped being ashamed of yourself." And she was right. I didn't cut ties. I just stopped mistaking love for debt. So that's how the story ends. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. Like a breath let out after being held for far too long. And now let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you had to be convenient to be loved? Have you ever stayed silent, just hoping someone would finally see you? Tell me in the comments. I really do want to hear it. Because maybe in your voice, someone else will find the strength to say, enough. And hey, if anything sounded a little off in this story, forgive me. It was voiced by AI. If something didn't sit right, tell me, I'll fix it. And if you want to help me keep writing, subscribe. Especially if you want to hear more stories that might just sound like your story. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.